The Assassin's Creed series includes 13 mainline games, numerous DLCs and several spin-offs. Among all of the Assassin's Creed games released, there's one certain genre that stands out for the amount of criticism it receives from the fanbase. It's not just a little dislike, it's almost guaranteed that you'll come across someone expressing strong negative opinions about this style, and that style is the RPG trilogy, Assassin's Creed Origins, Odyssey and Valhalla. Now these RPG games marked a significant shift for the series as it moved deeper into open world RPG territory, moving away from the stealth-based gameplay that marked earlier titles. Now, Assassin's Creed Origins is the first quote-unquote new style Assassin's Creed game, and even though it's somehow referred to as an RPG game, it's Assassin's Creed Odyssey that made the biggest change. Origins simply did not have dialogue choices, it did not have multiple endings, and it was also not as bombarded with RPG elements compared to Assassin's Creed Odyssey. So what I want to do in this video is explore the varied opinions about the RPG trilogy. I'll examine how this era of Assassin's Creed aligns with the rest of the series, and to understand why it did not exactly meet the expectations of many people. Now just a quick disclaimer, I'm speaking from the perspective of somebody that likes the RPG trilogy, so anything I say in this video that seems negative, I'm simply reflecting the general opinion, not my own personal views. Oh yeah, and let me know down in the comments below your opinions on the RPG genre of Assassin's Creed. Do you like it or do you not like it? I've noticed that when it comes to video games in general, the fan bases in a lot of them are not exactly the most welcoming, whether it's a multiplayer game like Rocket League with how toxic higher ranks are, and even single player games. For example, the Dark Souls community have very mixed opinions on Dark Souls 2 when compared to the rest of the series. And having been in these communities, whether it's Discord servers, subreddits or general discussions, there's one franchise out of them all that I've noticed has the most split opinions, and that is the Assassin's Creed franchise. You see, it's rare to find anybody who holds the same views on all 13 mainline Assassin's Creed games. I guess that does play a massive part. Having that many games will result in varied opinions. Many fans deeply cherish the older titles, to the extent that some YouTubers I once watched years ago have simply stopped covering the series because they no longer enjoy its direction. Fishy, we miss you. Then there are those who embrace the RPG iterations and believe this new direction is the future of Assassin's Creed. And then there are fans like myself who simply respect and enjoy all facets of the Assassin's Creed series. I put out this poll recently asking if you like the RPG style of Assassin's Creed, and not surprisingly a lot of people voted no. So it's very out there that not many people actually like this new style, and given that this poll received thousands of votes, it represents a pretty big sample size, providing a solid basis to gauge overall opinions. Fan expectations for Assassin's Creed have always been ridiculously high due to the series' ability to combine detailed historical worlds with relatively compelling gameplay. Fans of the earlier games particularly valued the focus on stealth, parkour, the strategic planning required for assassinations, and the strong story-driven missions. However, with the release of games like Odyssey, Valhalla, and eventually Assassin's Creed Red, opinions within this franchise are certainly split. While many people appreciated the open world and the extensive options for customizing your character, others felt massively disappointed. Longtime fans believe that a game like Assassin's Creed Odyssey drifted too far from what originally defined Assassin's Creed. Many criticized the game's shift towards more open-world RPG elements, arguing that this change weakened the classic stealth mechanics central to the series' identity. Furthermore, the introduction of microtransactions and the repetitive missions alienated some players, who felt these features were more typical of standard RPGs than of Assassin's Creed. Now personally, I'm a person that likes the RPG genre of Assassin's Creed. I've mentioned that many times on this channel, but I'm not blind to the fact that a lot of what I just pointed out is a valid criticism to have. However, I don't fully agree with most of the criticism directed at the RPG trilogy, because it has adhered to a consistent formula since Black Flag, which includes open world exploration, managing equipment and obtaining skill points. You see, people felt that the series was becoming too repetitive and lackluster by the time of Assassin's Creed Syndicate. Syndicate closely resembled its predecessor Unity in gameplay and, in some respects, was even seen as a step backward. The direction of the RPG genre seemed to be inevitable, as you could start to see the shift slowly turn with the release of Syndicate and Unity, which introduced very brief features found in RPG games. Similarly, Assassin's Creed Rogue, which was released the same year as Unity, was criticized for being too similar to Black Flag. This issue was partly due to the franchise's annual release schedule, much like Call of Duty, which led to franchise fatigue setting in after Black Flag. Recognizing this, Ubisoft announced after Syndicate that they would take additional time off to develop a truly fresh installment that would reinvigorate the series with a new story and gameplay changes. This led to the release of Assassin's Creed Origins 2 years later, marking what seemed to be the start of what is often referred to as the RPG trilogy. Now, I'm going to give my personal take on this, and that is if Ubisoft had continued to produce Assassin's Creed games in the same style as they did from 2007 to 2014, the series could have become repetitive and risked financial decline. And at the end of the day, what keeps a video game studio running is financial success. If Assassin's Creed continued to recycle the same formula across various historical settings like Greece, London, Egypt, Paris and others, it would likely lead to a sense of monotony in the franchise. Like it or not, the franchise had to evolve to stay relevant. I'm aware that most of us watching this video would instantly buy an older style Assassin's Creed game, and no, don't you dare say Assassin's Creed Mirage. That game is a mirage of the older style. However, we have to remember that this is a major AAA franchise, and we represent only a small fraction of the overall player base. We're simply the dedicated fans, not the majority, and people need to remember that. So what did Ubisoft do? Well, in response, Ubisoft introduced the RPG trilogy, Origins, Odyssey and Valhalla. Odyssey in particular expanded the series ambitiously. It featured the largest map in the entire series, and it's set in a fascinating period of ancient Greek history involving the Peloponnesian War, and the game even positions you as a descendant of Leonidas. The game excels in character customization and offers a deep, immersive experience through soundtracks, countless opportunities and extensive gear options. The choices players make impact the story. However, I personally feel like the Cult of Cosmos side of the game carried the story of Assassin's Creed Odyssey. But the one major criticism when it comes to Assassin's Creed Odyssey is that, well, it's not an Assassin's Creed game. Now, I kinda hear it. I understand what this phrase means. To put it simply, there is no Assassin's Creed in Assassin's Creed Odyssey. There are no hidden blades, well, except in a DLC. There are no hidden ones, there are no Templars, there's no real modern day, and both parkour and stealth elements are notably reduced or missing entirely. In fact, it feels like an entirely new video game. It feels like a game that's not what a lot of us are familiar with. But why did Ubisoft do this? Why did they release a game that's so far from Assassin's Creed? Well, the simple answer is money! You see, RPG games lend themselves more easily to monetization compared to non-RPG games. For example, you might spend $120 on the Ultimate Edition of Assassin's Creed Odyssey, only to find yourself persuaded to spend an additional $20 on an XP and Drachmi boost pack to avoid missing out on certain features. A great example of this is the silver currency in Valhalla, which allows for exclusive items in Reader's Shop. These purchases are often marketed as ways to customize or enhance the overall experience, but they also serve as a steady income stream for Ubisoft. By integrating these elements into the gameplay loop, Ubisoft can encourage ongoing spending beyond the initial game purchase. And clearly this tactic is working, as Assassin's Creed Valhalla is the first Assassin's Creed game to sell over $1 billion. Do you know how ridiculous that number is for a video game? $1 billion freaking dollars. It also amassed over 20 million total players. So clearly change was working for Ubisoft, and the RPG genre is something I can see them sticking with for a while. Now, before I talk about Assassin's Creed Red, which is the next Assassin's Creed game releasing this year, I want to very quickly go over this. So there are 4 distinct types of Assassin's Creed fans. Now, what I want you to do is comment below which out of the 4 I'm about to say you identify with. Number 1, the Ezio loyalists. For these fans, the series peaked with Ezio and Altair. Any game without these characters are considered inferior. Number 2, the purists. They believe the best of the series lies in the pre-RPG era. For them, the central conflict between the Templars and Assassins is important and represents the only lore that truly matters. None of this Isu stuff, none of this Animus stuff, and none of this mythological stuff. Number 3, the casual player. This certain group plays all of the Assassin's Creed games, likes most of them and dislikes a few, based solely on personal preference, and that's quite literally it. And number 4, the RPG enthusiasts. This group is not particularly interested in the earlier games or the overarching lore. Their main interest is in playing enjoyable, well-crafted video games. They could not give a shit about who or what happens to Desmond Miles. Their focus is on the here and now of gameplay experience, rather than the continuity and lore that may bind the series together. Now since this video is all about the RPG genre of Assassin's Creed, that also includes Assassin's Creed Red. Now for those who have been living under a rock in the last 6 to 9 months, the next Assassin's Creed game releasing most likely later this year is Assassin's Creed codename Red. Now if you're unaware, Assassin's Creed Red is going to be an RPG game. It's going to be a large-scaled open world game with RPG elements throughout, and it's also going to be developed by Ubisoft Quebec, the same studio behind Assassin's Creed Odyssey. It was recently disclosed that Assassin's Creed Red is the most expensive project in Ubisoft's 38-year history. Never before has the studio allocated as much budget to any of its games as it has for Assassin's Creed Red. Now obviously, once it's released, it will inevitably draw comparisons to Sucker Punch's Ghost of Tsushima, although such comparisons to me might be unfair given that Ghost of Tsushima was developed with a budget of $60 million, while Assassin's Creed Black Flag alone, released over a decade ago, has a budget exceeding $100 million. The budget for Red is expected to be even more substantial, as suggested by the studio. Ubisoft representatives have even claimed that Red will be the biggest blockbuster in the series, whatever that means, surpassing all previous entries in scope and scale. One developer mentioned that the next Assassin's Creed game would be iconic for the entire RPG genre. Now considering Assassin's Creed Red has been in development for nearly 6 years, with contributions from various subsidiary studios, its budget is anticipated to be astronomical, possibly even reaching $300 million, including marketing costs. Now whatever your thoughts may be on the RPG genre of Assassin's Creed, you cannot really deny that the time period of feudal Japan is an interesting one to go into. I feel like the only criticism Assassin's Creed Red gets is purely based on Ubisoft's recent track record, with Skull and Bones, the workplace drama and the owning their game situation. But let's not disregard the fact that they've released some good games recently, with the new Prince of Persia, the Crew Motorfest and even Assassin's Creed Mirage. So yeah, what are your thoughts on Assassin's Creed Red? Are you looking forward to it, or do you hate it purely because it's a Ubisoft game? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. Anyway, if you did enjoy this video, be sure to hit that subscribe button, and with that said, I'll see you in the next one.